Today is June 15th, 2013, and we are interviewing Thomas Friedewald
That is correct.
at Springfield, Illinois. Thomas was born on May 19th, 1944.
1947.
1947. My name is Cheryl Walker. I'm with the Illinois State Library, and I'll be the interviewer. Mr. Friedwald, could you share for the record what branch of service you served in?
United States Army from 1967 to 1969.
And what war was that?
The Vietnam War.
And what was your highest rank?
I was a Spec 5, which would be an E5.
Okay. And what did you were drafted, correct?
That's correct.
And do you remember receiving your draft notice?
Yes, I do. I sure do.
And how old were you?
I was 18 years old. Just got out of high school. Just got out. And the letter was there, and I read it. And my dad at the time said, "What are you going to do? You can make a decision. You probably got time to see a recruiter, maybe join the Navy," because he was a Navy man. And I just thought about it, and I said, son, I want to really go to a different branch besides what my father was in. And I decided the Army. So, a lot of guys at that time are running to Canada. I was not a runner. It was something that I wanted to do, and I ended up in the Army.
So where did you take your basic?
Basic training was Fort Leonard, Missouri. Fort Misery. Cold winters there. But I went there because that was basic training. Then my AIT school was combat engineers. I ended up being a heavy equipment operator. Operated a 290 earth mover, which moves earth and everything else. But that's where I went to AIT. And then from there, I was deployed to Vietnam.
So that's when you got your notice that you were going to Vietnam?
Oh, I knew I was going to Vietnam. Yeah, they told us.
Oh, they told us.
Yeah, some guys went to Germany. It just so happens that those guys got their orders to go to Germany when we all graduated from AIT. That would be your next duty station. And I got my orders at Vietnam. I just had a gut feeling I was going to go there. And really, truly, it is what it is. So I went to Vietnam.
Did you get a leave before you went over?
Yeah, I got a 30-day leave, and I went home and got married. Then after that 30-day leave was up, I flew to Seattle, Washington. That's where we flew out of to go to Vietnam. And it was American Airlines, I believe, or Northwest. I think it was Northwest Airlines. We landed in Thailand. No, it was Guam to refuel, and then we flew into Cam Ranh Bay. So, needless to say, when the door opened up, you can hear a pin drop.
How long were you in Cam Ranh Bay?
We did in-processing in Cam Ranh Bay for 3 days, and that was to find out where you were going to be deployed to your next company, because that's like the in-processing center. They give you a general idea what to expect as far as respect to the people and the Vietnamese, and then they were telling you basically what to watch out for, like booby mines, don't buy Cokes, because they had little girls over selling a can of Coke, and it can be battery acid, and things that you should do and shouldn't do is what they told you. And then they would process your medical records, your personal records, and stuff like that. Then they assign you to your company. At that time, on the third day, I was told to put all my gear together and get on a C-123, flew up to Quy Nhon. My duty station was up north, I-Corps area, way up north. So I flew from Cam Ranh to Quy Nhon. From Quy Nhon, we caught deuce and a halves, and we spent the whole day driving up north to my company, which was the 19th Engineer Brigade, 18th Engineer Brigade, 19th Engineer Battalion. That was my duty station. That was stationed at LZ Lowboy. It was named where I was stationed at the time. And other companies that were assigned around our area was the 173rd Airborne Brigade, which was LZ English. And then further up north was LZ Uplift. That's where I believe C or D company of 173rd Brigade was assigned up there. The area I was in, it was basically a really hot area. I mean, really hot. I mean, you hear about the South, but where I was going, I mean, it was bad. My duties in Vietnam at the time, I was assigned to a 290 Earth Mover. We rebuilt QL1, that's the major highway that runs from north to south, from Da Nang all the way down to Quy Nhon. We worked with the rock crew. A rock crew is basically a crew that we come in, make the road. They come in and pick 3/4 inch granite rock down to get it prepared for an asphalt crew to asphalt the road, which was something new in Vietnam, asphalt roads. Believe it or not, the Vietnamese people appreciate it. They can travel better than on a dirt road or a clay road. And but then again, from the 290, they needed more guys to operate a D9 dozers, bulldozers. So they sent me back to Quy Nhon, down to Quy Nhon, to do a 1-week course to operate a bulldozer, which I did do. Come back, graduated. They put me on a D9 dozer. Then basically, from that point on, I was what they call TDY, temporary duty station, and I was all over up north, clearing out artillery support bases, making it ready so they can bring the cannons in. Did a lot of LZs, landing zones for helicopters. I was basically out there with myself and another gentleman. His name was Tucker, a real good friend of mine. And we were just all over up north, working with the 173rd Airborne Brigade, and a lot of times with the Miracal Division, making whatever they wanted a mountaintop cleared, we would go up there. We would fly in a Chinook, drop our dozer. Of course, we had infantry around us pulling security for us, and we would work out. You know, be 2 dozers working together, clearing the mountaintop, and cut it back so they have a bigger perimeter, and then they would come in and build their bases then. And then I would go into another spot that they needed me. That's what I did a lot of, and then I had a mishap, being wounded, if you want to call it a mishap. I like to think of it as that. And then I was medevaced out. When I was medevaced out to Quy Nhon, our battalion colonel at the time, they were just having a chain of command change. A new battalion colonel came in, a gentleman, Donald A. Wisdom, that came in, and my battalion, actually my company commander, told him that because he was looking for a new Jeep driver, a colonel's aide, to replace the one that was going back home. So like I said, my company commander mentioned me to him. He came to the hospital to visit me and told me once I got out of the hospital to report to headquarters company. And I ended up being his colonel aide the last 4 months I was in Vietnam. By saying that now, our battalion colonel, Donald A. Wisdom, was probably the best commander that I could sincerely serve under. He watched out for the men, and we did a lot of recons together. I mean, I thought I might have had a cush job. Not so. He was a gentleman an officer who was out in the field with his men and making sure everything was A-OK. If it wasn't A-OK, he would get down to it and straighten it out ASAP. We did a lot of missions together, myself, Bill Swan, which is our battalion surgeon, that came with us. He didn't have to, but he did, volunteered. And at the time, we were up at D Company. That would be up around LZ Uplift. Back then, it was My Duck, Vietnam, up north. And they had a problem up there with the NVA and VCs coming in, blowing up the culverts, which is, that ran underneath the road. So by doing that, the traffic would stop, the convoys would stop, and then so they decided one night to put a new culvert in, and they figured at nighttime they wouldn't, it'd be a lot easier, quicker, get in and get out, fix it, and the damaged road, so traffic can move the next morning. With that being said, the colonel and I flew up there in a Huey helicopter. He wanted to run the operation. We put our own security team together, recon team, went out, and we secured the perimeter so the engineers could keep on going with their job. And we ran into a heavy ambush incoming. A few of our guys got wounded real bad. The company commander of D Company was shot. It was chaos, but we got out of it okay. The Lord, really, He was watching over us and got us out of there. The 173rd Brigade later on came in and gave us more support so we could get out. And my hat's off to them too. Other than that, in my experience over there, made me a different man when I came back. A real different man. You asked a question in a reading there about friends. When I came back, I didn't have my friends. In my mind and in my heart were still kids. I came back a different person altogether. More grown up. I've seen so much in my life in such a small period of time, which I would never want to relive again. But things were different, way different. And then when I finally left Vietnam and came back through Seattle, Washington, and that's when when you're over in Vietnam, you hear about all the protesting going on and stuff like that, and hippies. I didn't know what a hippie was until I got back to stateside in the protesting and, calling us baby killers and stuff like that. Which you couldn't believe that was going on until you actually got back stateside. And when we were in Seattle, they had a little orientation. Gentlemen, when you leave here, this is what to expect out there. And like I said, I didn't really know what was going on until I actually, at first hand, ran into it at the airport, trying to get my airplane ticket to fly out of Seattle back to Chicago. So, not a really great welcome home, as far as I was concerned. And for all of us, it wasn't a great welcome home. You have your rights to protest, but to spit on us, that was something I couldn't handle. And I physically was spit on. And they had a pitcher of beer poured over my head at the airport. And I was sitting down having a beer with a couple of other guys that were waiting for their flights. And then, MPs came over and got rid of the riffraff. And I just sat there and cried.
Were you in uniform?
Yes, I was, my class A's. Yep. That was my welcome home. But, like I said, different time, different era. But that's how I was welcome home, and I'll never forget it. And to this day, then they had, 20 years later, a welcome home parade that we could have went to. I refused to go to it. That was put on the table. We have a welcome home parade for the Vietnam vets, 20 years too late. As far as I was concerned, I never went to it. Didn't want no part of it because of my experience at Seattle coming home. And I carry that in my heart very heavy today. And to this day, I still feel like that welcome home. That's just the way I feel. Excuse me for my emotions, but it cuts deep. And anything else you want to ask me?
You took a commercial flight over there, and you were processed,
Mm-hmm.
and you were told what to expect,
Right.
and then you were taken into your base camp.
Correct.
Did you have plenty of supplies when you were in your base camp?
Well, for being an engineer outfit, yeah, we did have plenty of supplies. As far as working tools to work with and stuff like that. Sometimes clothes got a little thin, your uniforms would wear. The extreme heat and everything else, your uniform basically kind of routed off you, and then you had to go supply because it's what they call direct exchange. You know, you turn your used stuff in for new stuff. There were at times we had our times getting new clothing for ourselves, so boots were really, really, really a high priority over there. I wore out my first pair of boots, tried to get a second pair, but I had to wait a little bit longer to get them. But I did finally get them, you know. The clothing supplies, that's what I'm talking about, it was a little rough to get. And you didn't expect to get a shirt for a while. But like I said, when Colonel Wesley came in, he changed all that. And it's who's at the top that runs it all. But he straightened that out. We finally got uniforms and stuff that everybody needed. Then again, being TDY like I was, I lived out of a duffel bag. So there was no place to get a new pair of fatigues or another shirt or T-shirts, you know, or underwear. But you just learn to live with what you got. And, you know, you knew eventually you'd get something, you know. But or you knew, funny part about it, if you really wanted a new shirt or pants, you go down the village and the Vietnamese would sell it to you, the black market.
Your uniform.
Our fatigues, yes. They had them, yeah. So there was a little wheeling and dealing going on, you know. So.
What about like water and food?
You know, our food supply, the mess hall was always great meals. When you were back at base camp, you always had a hot meal, great meals. Water, we had actually the Navy had a CB unit that was up in QL1 on a major highway, and they ran a water filtration plant. And we used to go up there with what they call a blister bag on the back of a Deucinate quarter and fill it up, and always had fresh water. Then again, there was a lot of times we didn't have a lot of water. Water was really important there, you know. And sometimes you didn't get a hot shower. Sometimes you didn't get a shower at all because the water was gone, you know. So you lived maybe not take a shower for 3 days, sometimes a week, until we got more water. But that was, all in all, you still made it. You adjust, you know, to a certain situation at the time at hand. So it was a commodity, like anything else. Clothes was a commodity, water, food. Ate a lot of sea rats. Sea rat, there's food in the can, you know, and ate a lot of that. Used to swap a lot for the meals, different meal. You like this? Yeah, I like that. You want to swap? Yeah, sure. But, you know, again, you made it work. When Christmas time, when Christmas time came around, I was out in the field and they called me back in. We had a big turkey dinner. It was all set up for everybody. Then when you went to your hooch where you lived, and we lived in hooches.
And what are hooches?
A hooch is a four-man live in a hooch, and what it is, it's sandbags, and you got a metal roof on top with sandbags on top of that. And just in case artillery came in or mortars came in. That's what you lived in. That was your little, and it was hotter than heck in there. But that was home, you know, hooch. It wasn't no wooden barracks like you see down in Quinion or Cameron Bay. It was completely different. Yeah, I mean, you actually lived in the dirt, you know, and you had bunk beds, metal bunk beds, but still, you know. And then you had your little problem with insects coming in at nighttime visiting you, which you had to watch. But then again, it was home, you know, and a hooch was a hooch. A lot of times we used to go up laying on the roof to get a tan. When you ever found free tan, you know, free time, you know, but not too much free time though.
Did they provide mattresses, or did you buy mattresses?
No, I didn't buy that. No, mattresses were supplied to us. Pillows were supplied to you, you know. You might have got up one. And the bunk beds, sometimes the springs were wore out, and you lay there like a swayback horse, you know, but you learn to adapt, you know. And the mattresses, they try to change them out as much as they could for the next guy coming in, you know. Give you pillows and sheets just like at home. But then again, I tell you what, I just learned like everybody else that you just take your poncho liner when you're out in the field. That's what you lay on. And you laid on that all the time because it was made out of nylon. And it was a lot cooler. and it didn't stick to you. You know, sleeping on the sheets, and then again, you didn't want to sleep in any sheets or a blanket. It was too hot. And sleeping on top of my bunk like you did with the poncho liner, and just in case there was, you know, an activity, I mean, a wire, you had to get out of bed quick and fast. And you're always, you know, I mean, you couldn't be laying in a sheet. You get tangled up, you know, and it was quite an experience, you know. You just learn the quickest way to get out, you know. So, yeah, we had that stuff, but I lived in a poncho liner.
Did you have entertainers come to visit you?
Actually, I did not see any Bob Hope shows like you see on TV and stuff. Entertainers, no. We didn't have those USO shows. The only person that actually flew into our battalion at the time, and this is when I was like 4 months ready to go home, working Colonel's Aide for Colonel Delaney Wisdom, is we had Jimmy Stewart and his wife fly in. And he came by and to meet the troops, us guys. It was a great honor. I flew with them, with the colonel, because wherever he went, I went. And we flew him over down QL1 all the way north, how far we built the roads and stuff, and what companies we stopped in briefly, so they could meet those troops. And I was with Jimmy Stewart and his wife a good 10 hours that day, and it was thrilling. I mean, I know he's a movie actor and everything else, but you know, just another guy down to earth, put his pants on just like I do. You know, their son was in Vietnam at the time too, so it was an experience. I mean, that was the biggest entertainment I ever seen. You know, and I got pictures of the colonel and I with them. It's just keepsake stuff, you know. But that was about the biggest show I ever seen.
Did you get R&R over there?
Yes, we did. I went because I was married, and I went to Hawaii. And it was 7 days, 6 nights. And you put in for your R&R. Everybody had a choice. You know, it's like taking a vacation, civilian life. Is that you throw a dart at the calendar and hope to God that's the dates you get. Sometimes you don't. You know. Yeah, I went on R&R at Cameron Bay, and that was another experience because they're telling you, you know, this is what to expect. You know, because you're still, you know, you're in a combat situation and you're getting a little time out to go back in the civilian world. You know, and it was fine. You know, I didn't have any issues there at all. And then before you know it, it's over. You're going back. So, yeah, I had an R&R Hawaii, Honolulu, great R&R. So,
do you remember? Okay, you said that you were discharged in Seattle, and
yes.
you told me your experience.
Mm-hmm.
And your wife, was she in Chicago area?
Yes, she was in Chicago at the time. Correct.
What did you do when you came out of the service and came home? Did you take some time off?
Actually, when I flew back to Chicago, and because she wrote me a letter, she mailed me a key to her grandmother's apartment. That's where we're going to stay together. And I didn't tell anybody other than my father that I was coming home. And I was keeping it a secret, you know, just to surprise him and everybody. And he didn't even tell my mom. And my dad picked me up at the airport, you know, all arms, you know, tears. And then we went to my house. And then my mother called my wife up at that time, Linda, to stop by the house. She wanted to see her. And I was in our family room down in the basement. And, you know, mom, dad, and my brothers and sisters were there. You know, we're talking, and, you know, and she came in the house and she says, there's somebody in the basement that wants to see you. And she went down and, you know, she started crying. It was a really happy moment, you know. It was something else. It really was. Didn't quite work out, but, you know, like most guys that came back from Vietnam, their marriages didn't quite work out. And mine just happened to be one of those. But I got a great wife now, 43 years. Yeah.
What kind of career did you choose?
You know, being a combat engineer and everything, I kind of like laid back for about maybe 4 months. I lived at, because we had a pretty fast divorce. Stayed at home with mom and dad, and then I have a twin brother, and Bob says, we never seen Vietnam because of the Sullivan Act from World War II. He says, son, I can get a job driving a truck and put you in the union, Teamsters Union. So he got me the job. I went over, signed the union papers, I joined up with Local 731, and I became a rank and file member. And I'd done that for the longest time. I was the rank and file member with the Teamsters for, I gotta say, 18 years. And then I ended up having an opportunity to get my foot into the door at the Union Hall. And I ended up being a business agent for the Local 731 Teamsters. And my career being a business agent, and I was an organizer for the union. And I dealt with a lot of rank and file members. I also helped form a task force between Teamsters Local 731, Local 150, and the Laborers Union. Because we went after a lot of non-union companies and put them into the union, and we didn't force them like you hear about baseball bats and stuff like that. No, we were just, hey, you guys, you should be doing this because you're bidding against my contractor. A lot of them, I'll tell you the truth, the first year we had 48 companies that signed up to go union with us. And to this day, I see those contractors. I've been retired for 6 years now. And those contractors, that when I do see them, thank me that I knocked on the door or struck them on a field, to go union. But to this day, they really appreciate the fact that I even helped them because they can now they can bid jobs at union wages, So that's what I did, in my career. And then I ended up retiring out of the Teamsters after 42 years being in there. That was my family.
Do you, excuse me,
Sure.
Do you go to any type of reunion?
Well, the only reunion that I ever have is the one that when Don, my battalion colonel again, Don Wisdom, myself, and Bill Swan, we have a reunion. We've been doing it for almost 8 years now. Down at Bill's ranch, and he lives in Ellis, Texas, and it's just the three of us. And like I was saying earlier before the interview, that Bill took us out to his ranch, and he's got a flagpole out there, and it's got to be at least 100 feet tall. If it was in Chicago, he would have a red light so the airplanes would know not to hit it. But he's got the American flag out there, but actually a battalion-style flag, huge flag with the POW MIA flag out there. And below that flagpole is a gigantic plaque of everybody that we lost in our company. And he's got a picnic bench out there, and we just sit there and reminisce about our experience in Vietnam. I know my battalion colonel has a hard time. He lost a lot of good officers that he still lives with, in his memories. And Bill and us guys, myself being wounded and everything, him being there for me. We just talk about it, reminisce about the days in Vietnam. That's our own reunion, our own private reunion. We keep it to ourselves. It's pretty closed door, But that's the only reunions that I really, it's our own reunion. It's what we do, because I don't think nobody else can understand what we went through,
You received a Purple Heart.
Yes, it is.
Who gave you your Purple Heart?
My Purple Heart came from Colonel Sutton, who was the commander of the 19th Engineer Brigade when I was wounded. That's when Colonel Wisdom, the chain of command came in, and that's how I ended up working for Colonel Wisdom.
Excuse me.
Sure.
Do you belong to the DAV?
Yes, ma'am.
And what chapter?
Matter of fact, I'm the commander for Chapter 36, White Eagle, out of Park. Well, we're in Chicago, but we meet at the VFW post in Park Ridge.
Okay. And do you belong to any other veterans associations?
I was with the VFW post until they closed And I actually, I was going to join the American Legion Post when I came back from Vietnam. And then I went to the with my father, and at that time, the American Legion Post, I'm not saying nothing bad about the American Legion Post, but at the time, they didn't consider Vietnam as a war, it was a conflict. And the only organization at the time was the VFW, Veterans of Foreign Wars, took the Vietnam vets in. So that left a little bad taste in my dad's mouth, not taking me, where he was a lifetime member. And I did join the VFW Post. But you know, I had a lot of issues going on with PTSD and everything else, and sitting at the bar drinking with the guys and smoking cigarettes, and we would talk about Vietnam. It's something that I really didn't need to do. You know, it was just making things bad for me. I didn't want to relive that life, rehash it again. I was trying to put it back as far as I could. You know, then I quit the VFW, and then down the road I had more medical issues that popped up right before I retired. Announced to me I had Agent Orange, came down with prostate cancer, which is in remission, thank God for that. Yeah, I do have a few issues with the prostate cancer that I have to deal with for the rest of my life. They're not pleasant, but it is what it is. I'm alive. I'm above ground. I still got my wife at my side. And then plus having PTSD. So that's when I went back to the DA. I joined the DAV, and they helped me immensely to get all the benefits that I need. And I joined them. And like I said, and now I'm a commander of a DAV chapter. You know, so it's a great family. It's a family that I take my hat off to. They help as many veterans as they possibly can. Myself personally, I see a lot of veterans down at Jesse Brown Hospital, where I go for my PTSD groups. And I meet a lot of Iraqi and Afghanistan vets that really truly fall between the cracks. They don't know where to go, how to get help, or who to see, and nobody's telling them this. It's like everything's hush hush until you meet somebody that's willing to teach you to do it. And then I tell you what, I take a lot of those guys, and I see them, and I put them underneath my wing, and I'll take them over to the main office at DAV, and I'll get them signed up. I said, here's who you want to speak to. They'll be your power of attorney, and they'll walk you right through everything, and they'll do everything for you. All you need to do is present all the evidence for them to start filing your claim, and to get it going. That's what I do. I help other veterans. They need it. And it's kind of tears at you when a lot of guys get a lot of runarounds down at the VA. And I'm not bum rapping the VA, but they're not giving you everything, all the information that you really need to do, you know, to know, or the tools to work with, to file a claim properly, you know. So again, that's where the DAV comes in, American Legion Post, VFW, Vietnam veterans organizations come in. They're all great organizations there to help the veteran. And there's a lot of veterans out there that need help. And I think once everything's said and done and the boys come back home after that from Iraq, we're going to need a lot more hospitals, because there's a lot of trauma going on, you know, with the roadside bombings going on, IEDs, and a lot of mental issues, you know, physical, mental issues, PTSD. Yeah, big time. They're going to need help. And it's sad to say that we ourselves, Tammy Duckworth, started a project to have a 500-bed hospital built on the north side of Chicago. We don't have one on the north side of Chicago other than what's downtown. And it used to be the old Dunning, owned by the state of Illinois. It was a mental institution at the time. And they donated it. She got it, at least, thank God, we were donated property, and they were supposed to start building a hospital for the veterans, because we're going to need it. We'll definitely need it. And then, you know how the economy is. Federal fund money's still there, but the state of Illinois took their money back because, you know, they needed a budget, you know what I mean? So they used the money for something else. Property's still on the property's there, It's all staked out, ready to go, but we just need to get more money from Illinois Illinois to reallocate that money back to us so we can get that hospital up and running. And I don't know. I just don't understand why they don't do it. I understand, yeah, bad economy, but use the money somewhere else. You're taking away from the veterans. It's going to cost them more when you think about it. It's not going to be cheaper. So they should have kind of stuck to the plan from the get-go, because I don't know. Expenses go up. Building materials go up. Everything costs. So I just don't understand when they took it away. I hear budget. It's funny how these guys always got money to do something else. But enough of that. I can go on. Kind of a little bitter about it.
Is there anything else you'd like to say?
No, not really. Now unless you get some more other questions.
At this point, I would like to thank you for the time you gave our country
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
and the time you served.
Thank you. That means a lot.
And I would like to thank you for the honor that you gave me in sharing in your history and your story and allowing me to interview you
Oh,
today.
my pleasure. Believe me, it's all my pleasure. Thank you.